The government of the Virgin Islands is committed to the development of subsectors of agriculture and fisheries and is continuing to work with the existing farmers and fishers while encouraging others to get involved in these areas of the Virgin Islands economy. Honourable Dr. Karl Dawson is the Junior Minister for the Agriculture and Fisheries Department and has been charged with the mandate of ensuring that these two subsectors contribute to the economy of the Virgin Islands in a sustainable way. The Junior Minister, in his 6 months office report, says a scale-up in production in agriculture and fisheries is the greatest challenge.
It's clear to us that food security is an issue. It's not just a local issue, it's a global issue, impacted by drought, climate change, impacted by war, such as the war in Ukraine has had tremendous impacts. And those are impacts that we feel right here in the Virgin Islands, right in our own supermarket shelves, that in fact those issues are coming home to us. So there is a need for us to produce more locally here in the Virgin Islands. Even if you look within the region, the CARICOM has made a statement of a goal by 2025 to reduce imports to the region by 25%. And that is really saying we need to be producing more in the region and feeding ourselves and feeding each other. So getting that scaled up is a key piece. It's important in fisheries, and it's also important in agriculture.
Honourable Dawson said, apart from venturing into new areas, fishers have setbacks that must be addressed.
For instance, there are issues related to landing sites where people can even store their boats and so on that are impeding the work of the fishermen. There are also issues related to some pieces of legislation related to fishing methods, particular methods that may deal with spear fishing or the use of scuba in spear fishing is one of the issues that fishermen brought to me very early in my tenure, and we have been working at it legislatively to see how we can address this. So there are particular things that fishermen see as impeding their ability to produce more, and we have to address those if we're going to get the increased production.
The biggest setback to farmers is having access to water, and development works are underway to install a large storage tank to support productive farming in Paraquita Bay.
On the farming side, the biggest issue for a lot of farmers is water, having access to water. And water is the issue, and mostly it is lack of water, but especially even when we consider the rainy season that we've just come through, some farmers actually have lost crops due to flooding. So proper drainage is also something that has to be addressed, particularly on Just Van Dyke, where I was recently holding public meetings, and drainage and flooding was an issue for them. But the production and the access to water on an ongoing basis is certainly one of the key issues that our farmers face. In the Paraquita Bay area, where we have the greatest concentration of farmers and where we have some of our prime farming lands, water has been an issue and has been an issue for some time. The government has approved what I consider to be a good medium-term solution, that we will place an additional high-capacity tank in the hills above Paraquita Bay, where we will have water generated from the Seven Seas plant sent to that tank and then gravity fed down to the Paraquita Bay Valley, and to ensure there's adequate supply for waters. In conjunction with that too, we will also have to address some distribution issues, which we already started to do, distribution issues of water and individual storage tanks for plants. Some have, some don't. And in the meantime, though, as I mentioned, that as a medium-term solution that we expect to have completed by the middle of next year. But immediately we are trying to get their existing wells in the Paraquita Bay area, and we have pumps. We've acquired the pumps, and we're trying to get those going to provide a short-term solution to the needs of farmers.
Efforts are being made by the government to have the youth involved in agriculture and fisheries. To this end, the agriculture component of the rated program is set to begin soon. Land will be identified in Paraquita Bay and those participating in the program will be guided through the Department of Agriculture and Fisheries in crop production. Honourable Dawson also recognized the Agricultural Club of the Elmer Stout High School that is engaged in traditional farming.
I'm really proud of the work that the Agriculture Club at the Elmo Stout High School are doing. There's an active agriculture club there that are producing fruits and vegetables, and they're doing traditional farming. They're doing some hydroponics as well, and we really want to see how we could support them to even increase not only the training and introduce them to new methods, but even to assist them with resources to make sure that they have all they need to increase the production. So just the fact that they have that farm and there's an interest among the young people encourages me. And it encourages me to say that we need to look for opportunities to say, if these individuals wish to pursue this as a career, what are those options? At the same time, I'll just say, I was an Anigada, again, holding public meetings, and there's also a budding group there who is pursuing agricultural science, and again, we will try to support them as well, and those who work with them.
Honourable Dr. Dawson was a member of the Trade Commission to Guyana earlier this year, where meetings were held with the Guyanese government and prominent members of the Guyanese business sectors. The meetings fostered collaborative opportunities in agriculture between the two countries that will be of benefit to local youth farmers.
While we were there, we were able to visit 3 educational institutions/organizations, and there are opportunities for us to collaborate with them as far as training young people are concerned. One person who took the journey with us, Mr. Tony Alfonso, his family who traced to Guyana as well, and he himself said he would be willing to sponsor students who wish to attend the Guyana School of Agriculture, which I thought was very positive. I also visited, at one point I was representing the premier at a meeting in Jamaica related to the postal services, and I made sure go a day early, and I was able to visit the College of Agricultural Science and Education in Port Antonio in Jamaica. And again, you saw the opportunity to see what they have there. So they had in fact visited the BVI earlier this year on a promotion trip. So it gives us more information to give to our young people as they look for options to further their education and interests in agriculture. And of course, we're not limited to the Caribbean only, but other parts of the world as well.
The government is also working to introduce sustainable farming techniques appropriate for the Virgin Islands landscape. The aim to use the sectors as teaching tools across the curriculum for agriculture and science, mathematics, social studies, and nutrition.
The thing is for us to understand that all of this, agriculture and certainly some aspects of fisheries, is also STEAM. It's also science related, it's science based. And so that persons who are going into those fields need not think that what they do is only soil alone or scales alone, you know, and there are people who love that. I myself love to get out in the soil, but there are so much related to electronics, information, data gathering. The scientific method is key to agriculture. You try something, you see the impacts, you see what your inputs were, and then you make an adjustment. And that's the science base. And I believe that the more we include science, the more we include technology into our agriculture and science practices, the more it's going to be appealing to young people, both male and female, because it does not come to be now all about brute strength anymore. There's a lot more than brute strength involved in agriculture, and the methodologies that we are using will be more about the head than the hands.
The government is also identifying suitable crown lands throughout the territory that can be made available to persons to farm outside of the Paraquita Bay area.
As far as other areas outside of Paraquita Bay, there are some government policies that will impact that. Right now, we're in the midst of public consultations on the Crown Land Policy, which has impact for the use of lands, Crown lands across the territory. So one of the things that we're doing is identifying suitable Crown lands across the territory that can be made available to persons in various locales outside of the Paraquita Bay area. We're also in the process of working on a water policy. And a water policy will not only impact, say, persons at Paraquita Bay, but it will be questions that will relate in there. If you're involved in farming, what would your water rate be? Those are the kinds of issues that will be raised in the water policy. So certainly the things that are right, the inputs needed to advance agriculture, land and water, as well as the support. These are things that the government is very much working on currently to see how we can move the industry forward.
Honourable Dawson said interacting with practitioners in the field during his 6 months in office has been rewarding and has left him in a heightened state of encouragement.
What has been most enjoyable or uplifting for me has really been my opportunity to learn more and interact with the practitioners in the field. And not just the practitioners in the field, the persons who are interested in getting into the field. And that has left me in a very heightened stage of encouragement to think that there is a way forward for agriculture and fisheries in the territory. When I look at the fishermen across the territory, and certainly down in the western area where I represent, I see a lot of people are under 40, a number of them under 30, and they are looking forward to a long career in fishing. And they are also coming at it from a different perspective than, say, their fathers would have, who they would have learned the trade from. But they're going to be more open to, again, to technology, to using the best that's available in order to be as productive as possible. So it's a matter for government to see how can we support that initiative. That is not about government thinking and trying to come up with anything, but there are creative persons out there in these sectors, and how do we support them to make sure that they go forward properly. Similarly, in agriculture, one of my most uplifting visits was to hydroponic farm, Paradise Farms in North Song, Virgin Gorda, where they have 4 greenhouses where they concentrate strictly on lettuce. And they are looking to expand that, and really uplifting and really encouraged by what they're doing. And then also down in the valley there, Mr. Ian Joseph and his team also have a wonderful hydroponics operation going and also looking to expand. So, I mean, those were just happen to be 2 examples, but I've heard from a number of persons across the territory. And that's what I really want to see. How can we scale up the operation? Persons who are going from just being a backyard farmer, just satisfied to have a little plot, maybe give your mother some, maybe give your cousin some, and a neighbor, and that's good enough for them. But we're looking to see who can scale up, so that Rotan Wholesale and One Mart and Super Value and Bobby's can say, I know I'm getting 300 head of lettuce every week from such and such, so I know that's 300 I don't have to bring in from outside of the territory.
At the end of his first term in office, Honourable Dawson would like to see an increase in the local production of food from the territory's land and sea.
The government last year passed the Food Security and Sustainability Act in 2022, and that in turn creates the Fishing and Agricultural Marketing Authority, a statutory body that we expect will be more agile and able to move more swiftly to meet the needs of the sector. But also, I think that the authority, more so than the department as it presently exists, the authority will be about how do we drive industry? How do we move the industry forward? Because while there's a regulatory function that has to be performed, the authority will be focused on moving the industry forward. And that to me is tremendously exciting. So having that in place is going to be very important. Additionally, we're going to have to launch into other areas as well. I mentioned with the fisheries, what the fishers are doing now and doing well, but we do have out to 200 nautical miles, and we're going to have to get out deeper into the waters because there are tremendous fishing grounds out there, and we are going to have to determine what's going to be the best looking private-public partnership that includes our current fishermen to move that sector forward. Additionally, The question of aquaculture, farming fish, is going to be another factor. Right now, in across the globe, more than 50% of the seafood consumed in the world is farm-raised fish in some way, shape, or form. And we cannot allow ourselves to fall behind in that. We must ensure that we have the best methods that produces the most healthy food, but we must do that. Right now, there is a project that's an operation, I should say, by Caribbean Sustainable Fisheries out at Beef Island. We are working along with the neighbors to that project to make sure that everything goes well. But that is a product that will end up exporting lobster outside of the territory. We have also engaged during my visit in Guyana. We're looking at the potential of shrimp farming as well. So we're going to be considering those, because I believe that as we build out our seafood production, it's going to be fish caught in the wild, which our fishermen are currently doing, but it's also going to have to start to include an aquaculture component as well. So again, similarly with the farming, scaling out. How can we help persons who have determined that this is the business, not the hobby, the business that they want to be into? How can the government help them to get their operations up to scale so that they can make a bigger impact on the availability of food locally?
Honourable Dawson, in further reflections of his 6 months in office, said when he decided to serve the people of the Virgin Islands, he saw it as an extension of his life of service. He said the aim now is to best serve this critical sector that will be of benefit to the economy and people of the Virgin Islands.
When I decided to run, I saw it as an extension of my life of service. So now it's a question now to say, how can I best serve this particular sector? And even in the last few months where I have been going and doing the public meetings and meeting the fishermen and farmers, it's becoming more crystallized in my mind what this service could look like. What are some of the things that we can do? So it's now a matter of now making sure the things that are in place underway continue, and then if needs be, get back to the drawing board to put things, because remember at my level, it's a matter of what are the laws, what are the policies, how can resources be allocated. So those are the things that I will be focusing on in order to make an impact during my time in office.